Hello, everyone. I'm Kikutani. Today's topic is happiness on your own, a Buddhist perspective. Buddhism teaches of happiness on your own. Shakyamuni Buddha was completely alone when he attained enlightenment. He had been a prince, but left his country to pursue an ascetic's life alone, without a master. Later, parting from the friends who would join him in practice, he sat alone beneath the tree at Mahabodhi temple near the Falgu river and attained a Buddha's enlightenment on December 8, aged 35. Shakyamuni attained a Buddha's enlightenment, coming to know true happiness as a result, while all on his own. The supreme happiness that Master Shinran taught of can also be enjoyed independently of other people. So the happiness taught of in Buddhism is not the kind of happiness that requires things like praise from other people. Buddhism teaches of happiness that can be enjoyed independently of others. We're used to swinging between joy and sorrow based on others' judgments, so this independent happiness is beyond what we can conceive of. Today I would like to talk about what exactly it is. Today I will talk about these points. First, class and categorization. Second, leaving Mount Hiei. Third, the benefit of being praised by all the Buddhas. One of our major motivating forces is the desire for fame. This would be called need for approval in modern psychological terms. Buddhism calls it the desire for fame. We want to be praised, appreciated, and cherished by people. We don't want to be ridiculed or hated, but liked. This is the desire for fame. Since this is one of the blind passions, we've had it since birth. This being an innate desire, and something that can be stoked by others too, our lives are spent being constantly hounded by this desire for fame. From the time we're little, if we have siblings, we want to be seen as the good kid by our parents. At school, we want to be seen as good and capable. It's just the same at work, in fact. Japanese classrooms have a hierarchy. Students may be ranked as first-rate, second-rate, or third-rate. A first-rate student may lead the class, have influence, be seen as cool, be the sporty type and take part in club activities, or be a cheery person. Most people will be second-rate or the lowest rank, third-rate. This Japanese school hierarchy takes its name from the notorious Indian caste system. Class caste. A hierarchy isn't inherently bad. The problem is when it's used to bully people. Even from elementary school age, children are terrified of running afoul of this system, since if they do, they might find themselves being shunned. They agonize over how to avoid this. Of course, though, things are just the same once they grow up. Working adults wonder what they can do to make their colleagues think them capable, successful, and attractive, and thereby satisfy their desire for fame. Succeeding at this brings happiness and satisfaction. But if this desire is not satisfied, if they are ridiculed or looked down on, that can make them really depressed and unhappy. Based on how others see us, we feel happy or miserable. This is how things always are for us, is it not? When I was in high school, I felt I didn't like how I was constantly troubled by this calculating desire for fame. I read Shunatsu Musha no Koji's novel Teacher of Truth, and one of the characters is called Bakaichi. Although everyone calls him Bakaichi, idiotus, I think his real name is maybe Hikoichi. This guy is captivated by rocks and paints nothing but pictures of rocks. Everyone around him says that painting rocks won't make him any money, and that since he's talented, he should paint portraits or scenery instead. Despite this, Bakaichi remains fascinated with rocks and keeps painting them. So even though everyone calls him an idiot, I admired this character. Because I was constantly troubled by my desire to be thought well of by others, I'd do things that I didn't want to do and refrain from things I wanted to do, and I didn't like that. I thought that being able to adamantly pursue your own path regardless of others' ridicule or scorn was a wonderful thing. I felt like if I could find a path I could earnestly pursue without caring about others' judgments of me, then I'd be really happy and satisfied. That's how I felt after reading this book. I remember wondering, what would be my equivalent of Bakaichi's rocks? What could be my rock? I want to know. After graduating from high school, I went to university in Tokyo with a strong desire to find this rock. I wanted to find the path I would never regret pursuing, regardless of what others thought. I wanted to know what would bring meaning to my life. That's what I remember as I went to Tokyo. Even now, I think perhaps that feeling I had in high school was why I was so intrigued by the Buddhist teaching that there exists a kind of happiness that can be enjoyed independently of other people. Novelist Ryunosuke Akutagawa described life as an Olympic game hosted by lunatics. The Olympics is a competition. You've probably seen running events at the Olympics on TV. On both sides of the racetracks are spectators waving their country's flags and cheering on their country's athletes. Life is just like the Olympics in this way. When you overtake others, everybody praises you. You did it. Well done. You're the winner. Go you. And when you're overtaken by others, people sigh in disappointment. You hear them shout, "Come on, do better." So when you're ahead, people praise you. But when you're overtaken, they write you off as useless. People demand that you run faster than others and win the race. If you do that, everyone will praise you, so your desire for fame will be satisfied. So whether you like it or not, people make you want to run faster than others. Why, then, did Akutagawa describe life as an Olympic game hosted by lunatics? That's because life is like a race without a goal. No matter how long you run for, there is no real finishing point to get to. You're just endlessly running while crowds enthusiastically cheer you on. That's why life is like an Olympic game hosted by lunatics. Further, he said, anyone who cannot help but resent this ludicrous game should promptly run off the track, which seems to hint at suicide. The year after writing this in his novel Dwarf's Words, Akutagawa himself committed suicide. Getting into a renowned university is expressed as entering through the narrow gate in Japan. Everyone rushes to the gate, wanting to get through, but only a portion can actually do it. Those who manage it are seen as winners, whereas those who don't are seen as losers. So people get categorized as winners or losers. Winners are praised and congratulated, whereas losers are met with disappointment. And that's why everyone rushes towards the narrow gate. They want to be praised and seen as winners for getting into a good university. Successfully getting through that narrow gate brings a temporary sense of accomplishment. But is that the end goal? No, there's another gate afterwards. In close to 3 years' time, you'll start desperately striving to get through the next narrow gate, getting a job. You'll be concerned with how you can pass state exams or score a place at a top-ranking company. If you succeed at either, you'll be considered a winner, whereas if you don't, you'll be seen as a loser. Becoming a winner will bring a temporary sense of accomplishment, but it's not the end goal. Next, you'll compete with your colleagues in things like who climbs the corporate ladder first and who performs well enough to be praised by the higher-ups. In other words, who gets through the next narrow gate first. No matter how far you get, there's never an end goal. Eventually, you'll open a gate that leads to a graveyard. This is the grim way that all our lives will have to end. Fighting off our fears, we strive with all our might and eventually succeed. This brings temporary relief, but then we have to do battle again. Just as we think we've succeeded, another struggle comes up. We overexert ourselves to keep running, until suddenly we're shocked to realize our time to die has come. If this is how life is, then why do we have to keep on running? This is the Olympic game hosted by lunatics that Akutagawa spoke of. Even so, we feel like we have to run to victory because the people around us will praise us if we do and shame us if we don't. This is what it is to be chased around by our desire for fame. Master Shinran did not want to go to his death regretting having spent his life being constantly assailed by his desire for fame, so he wished to find true happiness that transcends this desire. After all, the happiness brought by satisfying this desire is extremely unstable. We feel elated when praised, but crash down into misery when scorned. Rather than this unstable happiness, Master Shinran wanted eternally indestructible happiness, happiness that can be enjoyed independently of other people, which is why he became a monk. He wished to sever his worldly desires and reach a state of pure happiness, liberated from blind passions. To this end, he began ascetic practices on Mount Hiei, aged 9. He would then spend 20 years, until he was 29, striving to rid himself of his blind passions, such as his desire for fame. But what he came to see after all that was that these blind passions are impossible to sever. He left the mountain in despair. Master Shinran described his state of mind upon leaving as follows. How can I indulge myself in trivial socializing and wear myself out with useless studies? Trivial socializing means mixing with people of delusion. These are people who live life like rootless objects floating on a body of water. They could die at any time, yet they spend their lives chasing after fleeting things. This is us. All we know is the happiness we can gain from money, fame, and praise, and we focus on chasing after these things. Master Shinran was saying that even on Mount Hiei, he was indulging in socializing with such people and feeling troubled by them. I wear myself out with useless studies. Even if everyone praises us for a time, after some decades, we'll just be a distant memory. One example is the world of entertainment. A celebrity might be admired and have many adoring fans, but 10 or 20 years down the line, they'll only be a memory. Alternatively, a scandal may cause everyone to do a complete about-face and badmouth them. In this way, the fame we find is fleeting. The fame Master Shinran gained from his practices and studies was just as fleeting. On the mountain, he succeeded at harsh ascetic practices and was seen as a child prodigy. He was praised as being in a league of his own, both in practices and studies. He'd gained all this worldly fame, yet what would become of it? In the end, he realized, he would have to die all alone. He asked himself, am I not just wearing myself out fussing over these practices and studies in pursuit of fleeting fame? What on earth is the point of that? And so, disillusioned after 20 years, he left the mountain. He then wandered about Kyoto in search of a teaching that could save a being as full of blind passions as he was. That was when he met Master Hunen. Learning from him of Amida's salvation, Master Shinran finally attained true happiness. Human form is difficult to obtain. Now I have already obtained it. Buddhism is difficult to hear. Now I have already heard it. This is the happiness that he attained. Human form is difficult to obtain means, I am so glad to have been born human. Buddhism is difficult to hear means, how fortunate I had the rare opportunity to hear Buddhism. This is the joy and gratitude that Master Shinran experienced. He was filled with wonder and awe. What a blessing to be born human. How can I possibly convey my joy at finally obtaining true happiness through hearing Buddhist truth? Master Shinran composed to him expressing his gratitude and joy at being saved thanks to Buddhism and being guided by Master Hunen. The grace of Amida's great compassion. I must repay, though I wear myself to bits. The grace of the teachers who led me. I must repay, though I work myself to the bone. Even wearing himself to bits wouldn't be enough to repay Amida for compassionately blessing him with this happiness, and even working himself to the bone wouldn't be enough to repay Master Hunen for teaching him of it. His focus was solely on how to convey this happiness and how to repay his debt of gratitude. For his efforts, Master Shinran faced all kinds of attacks and slander. Depraved monk, precept-breaking monk, sex-crazed monk, backstabber, outcast. He was called a depraved monk because people assumed he left Mount Hiei due to finding the practices too difficult. As for precept-breaking monk, this was because when he was 31, he publicly got married and ate meat. He took this daring action in order to demonstrate that true Buddhism saves all people just as they are. This was against a Buddhist monk's precepts, so people were very critical of this. He was also decried as a sex-crazed monk for marrying. He also had 3 major arguments with his fellow disciples of Master Hunen. That's not to say they were exchanging insults. These were debates over Buddhism. Because of this, he was ostracized. As for backstabber, that was because he was accused of going against his master to preach his own teaching. Then at age 35, having provoked the ire of authorities by striving so hard to convey the Buddhist teachings, he was exiled to Echigo. So he was branded an outcast. He became the target of insults and derision. Despite this, Master Shinran said the following, mindful solely of the depth of Amida's benevolence, I pay no mind to others' derision. Mindful solely of the depth of Amita's benevolence. When I think of my debt of gratitude to Amita Buddha for saving me, I pay no mind to others' derision. People heaped criticism and scorn upon him, yet he said that this was nothing. He paid it no attention. The one and only thing he was thinking of was how to repay his debt of gratitude to Amita. He couldn't help but strive to accomplish this. As he was thinking only of this, people's derisive remarks meant nothing whatsoever. It was with this mindset that Master Shinran pressed on with his activities. Of course, since Master Shinran too had the desire for fame, he didn't want others to think badly of him. Yet he was filled with supreme happiness. This happiness he called the benefit of being praised by all the Buddhas. It is to be a fortunate, happy person whose praises are sung by all the countless Buddhas. In the larger sutra, Shakyamuni describes one who has true happiness as my close friend, as well as beings of vast and excellent understanding, meaning great scholars of Buddhism, those who have truly understood Buddhism. Shakyamuni himself is respected as one of the greats worldwide, so what pride and joy Master Shinran must have felt to be declared his close friend. Not only that, but in the Contemplation Sutra, a great scholar of Buddhism is also compared to a white lotus unaffected by the mud of the swamp. So one who is saved is blessed with the happiness of being praised by all the Buddhas in these various ways. Of course, it's not very nice to be slandered by lots of people. In fact, it really hurts to be harshly badmouthed by many people at once. However, if the person you like and respect the most says to you, "You did great," then you'll feel glad you did what you've done even in spite of all the criticism. You might not care about praise from a bunch of people you think little of, but praise from just one person you truly respect will bring you pride and joy. If everyone praised you but this one person denounced you, you'd feel downhearted. So there is nothing as gladdening as being praised by someone you truly respect. Master Shinran was constantly filled with the awareness, pride, and joy that he'd gained the praise of all the Buddhas, so no matter what people said about him, it could never make him give up. This was why he could carry on so resolutely in the face of everything. Today I've been talking about happiness on your own. Master Shinran might be commonly thought to have pressed on alone, but actually, praise from the Buddhas, his master Hunen, and the historical Buddhist teachers was constantly reaching his heart. It was precisely because of this that he was able to carry on as steadfastly as he did. Today I talked about happiness on your own. At the end, I tried to get to the heart of exactly what kind of happiness Buddhism teaches of. What did you think of today's talk? On this channel, I talk about the Buddhist teachings, what it is that Master Shinran taught. If you're interested in learning more, I'd be delighted if you'd subscribe to my channel and keep watching my videos. Thank you for watching this video.